Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another video here on the SSA Philosophy channel, where we dive right on into the philosophy of characters from video games to TV shows to movies, etc., etc. So, in today's video, we're going to be going over the philosophy of the character known as Kevin ODog Anderson. So, of course, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let us go on ahead, as always, and let us go on ahead and get started. So, Kevin ODog Anderson from the 1993 film Menace to Society really is a character who burns bright and leaves a trail of destruction in his wake. Now, played with the chilling intensity by Lorenz Tate, ODog is really more than just a villain, but really he's a personification of the brutal reality faced by many young men in inner city America. So ODog is introduced as Kane's best friend, and Kane, of course, is the film's protagonist. So really, their bond is undeniable, but it's strained by ODog's hair trigger temper and complete disregard for consequence. Now, the opening scene it really sets the tone for ODog's character. A seemingly innocuous trip to the liquor store, escalates into a double homicide when a misunderstanding with the store owner ignites Odog's volatile rage. Now, this brutal act of violence becomes the catalyst for really a chain reaction of events that plagues, Kane, pretty much that plagues him, throughout the film. So really, Odog, I would say, Odog, I would say is, he's a stark contrast to Kane because while he wrestles with his desire for a better life, Odog revels in the nihilism of their environment because he embodies the ruthlessness, necessary to survive on the streets. But this survival of the fittest, this mentality, it really comes at a heavy cost because his actions not only endanger himself, but it also drags Kane deeper into the cycle of violence. And really, there is a complexity, to ODog, though, because beneath the hardened exterior, it lies a flicker of vulnerability because he shows a capacity for loyalty, particularly towards, Kane. But the thing is, though, is that despite his erratic behavior, there are moments where a glimmer of regret or even fear peeks through. And this complexity makes ODog a fascinating and tragic character because really he's a product of his environment. A young man hardened by a life, filled with poverty, gang violence, and a lack of opportunity. So really, ODog's character, really his character has sparked a lot of debate and discussion for a lot of, for years. Because some people see him as a monster, a sociopath who revels in chaos, and other people see him as a victim, a product of circumstance with no chance of escape. The brilliance really of ODog, I would say in this case, it lies in this ambiguity because he forces the audience to confront the harsh realities of inner city life and the toll that it takes on young people. So really, on one hand, is he a villain to be condemned, or is he a tragic figure worthy of empathy? Now, Menace to Society, it doesn't really provide easy answers, and really, ODog remains a character who continues to challenge and really provoke a lot of viewers, even to this day. So really, with the introduction all out the way, let's go on ahead and dive into the philosophy of the character ODog. And this is like, and this is what, and this is what I like to call ODog a manifesto of desperation. Now, the thing about ODog ain't a character, but he's a symptom. A raw nerve ending exposed in the belly of the beast. Really, he's the rage personified, the embodiment of a life choked by circumstance. So, really, here's the old dog philosophy writ in the graffiti of a burning world. So, the first part of his philosophy we're going to go and cover on is survival is style. So, the thing about old dog, when it comes down to like, survival being, paramount, is that, old dog, he operates in a reality where violence is a constant threat because he sees the world as a jungle where weakness leads to death. And this environment, it breeds a cynicism about hope or escaping the cycle. So survival pretty much becomes the only motivator for him. So and also when it comes to like, style, style as armor. Now in old dog's world, style isn't really just about clothes or swagger, but really it's a way of presenting yourself, that commands respect and fear. So Think baggy clothing, imposing stances and a cold demeanor. And really, this style, it really becomes a form of armor, deterring threats and projecting an image of someone not to be messed with. So really, ODog, like he doesn't subscribe to the values of the outside world, but he really sees mainstream society. Because really, that's the thing. Like he sees mainstream society really as offering unrealistic promises and little chance of escape for someone like him. So his style becomes a way of rejecting those values and creating his own identity within the harsh reality that he faces. And also, another part we want to focus on too when it comes to Old Dog's philosophy is loyalty, a one-way street. So really, there's a difference between crew and family. And for ODog, loyalty is a shield, not a promise. So he protects Kane, his friend, but on his own terms. And really it's a twisted reflection, a twisted reflection of brotherhood forged in a crucible of despair. So ODog, like he sees loyalty, as a shield because he expects his friends, particularly Kane, to have his back no matter what, even if it means violence or recklessness. And this is pretty much evident, when he pressures Kane to retaliate, for one of his friends, known as Harold, pretty much retaliating, for Harold's death. And even though Kane is trying to escape the gang life. And the thing about Old Dog's loyalty, his loyalty is conditional because he's fiercely loyal. Like well, he's fiercely protective, of those that he deems his people. But he shows no qualms about betraying outsiders or even those within the group if they don't serve his immediate needs. And we also see this, of course, like say in times like when he's strong arms came, like say whether it be like say into like stealing drugs, or whether in this case, stealing a vehicle, of course. So the thing about ODog, because for him, loyalty is a tool for control because really he uses the expectation of loyalty, to manipulate other people, particularly Kane, into doing his bidding. And really what I would say is this creates like a toxic dynamic where Kane feels trapped by his loyalty to ODog despite the negative consequences. And ultimately though, ODog's loyalty, it is self-serving because he demands unwavering support but offers little in return. And the thing is that he prioritizes his own survival and desires, even if it means putting his own friends in danger. And this is pretty evident too. Like I said, I mean, this is evident in the scene where he opens fire on the store on the store clerk, endangering not just himself but also Kane. So really, this warped sense of loyalty really it highlights the tragedy of Odog's character because he's trapped in a cycle of violence and distrust, unable to form genuine connections due to his one-sided expectations. And also another part I want to focus on too in Odog's philosophy is laughter in the face of the void. So the thing is that for Odog, for him the world's a joke, a cruel punchline. So really his manic humor, I would say, is a coping mechanism. A way to find amusement in the absurdity of a life teetering on the edge. Really, it's a shield against the encroaching darkness. That's what I would say. So the thing about Kevin, also known as Odog, Odog is his nickname, So yeah, so Kevin's world, really it is one of poverty, gang violence, and a bleak outlook on the future. So like the American dream, it feels distant and opportunities are scarce. And this harsh reality, it pretty much creates a sense of existential dread, a feeling of facing a meaningless existence, which of course is known as the void. So the thing about humor, humor becomes a shield against the despair of the void. Because Kevin, like he uses jokes, dark wit, and even sarcastic outlook to deflect the harshness of his reality. And it's a way really to maintain a sense of control and sanity in a chaotic world. And also his laughter, it isn't really just about, coping, but also a form of rebellion. Because by finding humor in the face of hopelessness, he defies the power structures that created this void. And really, it's a way of saying, even in this messed up situation, I can still find something, to laugh at. So, really the ever-present threat of violence and death. Like it really forces Kevin to like live in the moment because jokes and laughter really become a way to savor the fleeting moments of his joy. Pretty much the fleeting moments of joy and connection that he finds with his friends. And also, now see the thing is, it's very important to recognize that Kevin's laughter is often tinged, with bitterness because really it acknowledges the absurdity of his situation while providing a temporary escape. And also, another part I want to focus into when it comes to Old Dog's philosophy is authority is the enemy. Now, cops, teachers, social workers, now to Old Dog, they're all extensions of a system designed to keep you down. And for him, respect is earned through violence, not suits and ties. So, really, for Old Dog, defiance is the only path to dignity. So the thing about ODog, like he views the institutions, like the police, as tools of oppression, not protection. Like he sees them. Really, he sees them failing the community and reinforcing the cycle of violence. And really, the world, like the thing is that the world of the film itself, a menace to society, is harsh. And ODog believes in a dog eat dog mentality because he trusts no one and relies solely on himself for survival. And also, Odar, like he operates even outside the law, viewing it as irrelevant in his own environment because he creates his own rules dictated by revenge and personal gain. And Odar, like he also uses violence to assert dominance and gain control because he sees it as the only way to navigate the dangerous world that he inhabits. So, really, this part of his philosophy really it is a product of his environment because when it comes down to like this, when it comes to like say down to to poverty and the lack of opportunity, and when it comes to gang culture and really the sense that like and also like like this like like and also like this desensitization to violence. Now when it comes down to like the first part, like the thing about Odog is like he has no positive role models and limited options because he sees authority figures as failing to provide a path out of poverty. And then when it comes down to the gang culture, like he finds like a sense of belonging and power within the gang, which reinforces his distrust of outsiders and authority. And then when it comes to to the desensitization to violence, growing up surrounded by violence, he lacks empathy and he sees violence as a normal way to resolve conflict. So really, there are three things that we really need to note here, and they're very important to note. And those three things are these right here. The thing is that number one, his philosophy, this part right here, of course, is destructive and ultimately leads to his downfall. And the thing is that the film doesn't glorify him, but it rather like portrays the tragic consequences of his worldview. And also, he serves as a cautionary tale about the impact of a failing society on its youth. And also another part I want to focus on into Odog's philosophy is hope. Hope is a hope is a luxury. So dreaming of a better future is a luxury that Odog can't afford because the present is brutal, the future is uncertain, and he lives in the now. A whirlwind of impulsive reactions filled by a potent mix of anger and fear. So really, Odar, like he comes from a neighborhood, riddled with poverty, gang violence, and limited opportunities. And hope for a better future might seem like a fantasy in such circumstances. And really, the daily struggles for survival it leave little room for optimism because he focuses on staying alive today and not dreaming about a brighter tomorrow. And the thing is the film. Like really the film, I would say, Minister Society, because really the film itself, it portrays a system that fails to provide, you know, the upward mobility or the escape, from the cycle of poverty and violence. Really hope in the system, it seems futile. And then having to witness, the constant violence and death, it can lead to pretty much can lead to desensitization and hope. It loses its appeal when the future seems bleak. So the thing about Old Dog's philosophy, really this part, I mean, it really isn't just about him. Like that's the thing. I mean, it's not just about him, but really it reflects the despair of a generation trapped in a seemingly hopeless situation because he prioritizes immediate concerns like survival and loyalty over long-term aspirations that feel out of reach. So really here are some additional points, to consider here when it comes to this. And the points to consider are, the fact this, it really is, the film's context and also the alternative viewpoints. Now, when it comes to the context, because Menace Society was released in 1993, a time when, inner city gang violence was a major social issue. So Odog's was, his, like his perspective, it reflects the anger and the frustration felt by many young people in such environments. And then when it comes down to the alternative viewpoints, the film also features Kane, who represents a contrasting viewpoint. While jaded, because Kane is jaded, that is one thing we'll say. Like he is a jaded character. But the thing about Kane is though is that even though despite that, he still holds on to a sliver of hope for a better life. And really what this does is that this creates a tension between, cynicism and the possibility of change. So overall, Old Dog's philosophy, this part right here, what hope is a luxury, really it is a powerful statement about the impact of poverty and violence on human potential because it forces us to confront the harsh realities faced by some communities and the challenges of finding hope in a seemingly hopeless situation. And with all of that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that of course is bringing us to the conclusion here of this video here today. But of course, the thing is this, Old Dog's philosophy, I mean, it's not pretty because really it's a desperate scramble for survival in a world that is stacked against him. Because he's a cautionary tale, a glimpse into the abyss that poverty, violence, and hopelessness can create. Because he's a reminder that sometimes the rage simmers, just beneath the surface, just waiting to erupt. So really, Kevin Odog Anderson, really he's a complex and yet a controversial character in Menace to Society because his violent outbursts and seemingly sociopathic behavior spark a lot of debate on whether he's a product of his environment or a catalyst for the cycle of violence plaguing his community. So Odog undoubtedly carries the scars of his surroundings because the thing is this, like the film doesn't really like delve deeply into his backstory, you know, but we can infer a life, shaped by poverty, gang culture, and likely exposure to violence from a young age. You know, yeah, and that's the thing because he lacks positive male. Yeah, pretty much like so. Yeah, pretty much in this case, like I mean, he lacks positive male role models. Like with Kane's deceased father, Tat, being like say a figure associated with the drug trade. So really, without guidance and surrounded by violence, Odog's own behavior becomes increasingly violent. However, though, to simply label Odog, say, a victim of circumstance neglects his agency because really he actively, I would say in this case, he chooses violence. Because really the brutal double homicide at the start of the film, in liquor store, really it is a prime example. Because the situation itself, I mean, it wasn't even inherently like life threatening. Yet he escalates it, seemingly for his own twisted sense of power and control. And even like keeps the incriminating security tape, which also was a reckless act that fuels a cycle of retaliation. So yeah, so then again, I mean, I'm not gonna like, also skip by the fact also like in the film, like now the store clerk, now would I actually say that, he shouldn't have, I mean, now would I say this, like, I mean, me personally, I mean, he shouldn't have said, what he said, of course, like, saying like, I feel sorry for your mother. I mean, he shouldn't have said that, in my opinion. Like, I mean, he shouldn't have said that, in my opinion, he shouldn't have said that. But at the same time, though, Odog, what he did was, it was very too far. Like it was definitely too far. And not only that, but the fact overall, like, and I'll say this: the fact that overall, like the fact that that Odog, like, I mean, you would think that if you really were gonna be like a smart criminal, like seriously, if you literally, I mean, like if you literally overall, like kill two people in a store and then literally having like to take the money out the register and then having to like take the security tape, pretty much taking all the evidence from the scene, but then be a complete idiot the next time around by having to show everybody the freaking tape to show everybody the freaking tape of the crime that you committed or what you did. Like that was a dumb move. Like that was a very, very stupid move by ODog. And ultimately that's pretty much overall what led like say, to Kane, pretty much getting like his downfall pretty much in the end, pretty much because of the fact that obviously, like the fact that, obviously one of the people that was in ODog's gang obviously had ratted on them, of course, and pretty much, obviously, like, pretty much, sent the people overall, like pretty much sent another, like pretty much sent like another gang, like after like say, to Kane and ODog, which eventually led, to Kane's death in the end of the movie, and stuff like that. But yeah, but overall, ODog was like, honestly, like, that I mean, that was very stupid of ODog to do, like, absolutely stupid, you know. But the thing is, though, is this, and really this raises a lot of questions. Like, really, it raises like I mean, yeah. So yeah, really, it raises the question, and the question is ODog simply this: is he a product or a catalyst? Because he embodies a violence. He embodies a violence, plaguing the community. But his actions also directly set off the chain of events that led to Kane's demise. The brutal shooting at Ronnie's house, it wouldn't have happened. And like I said, I mean, it wouldn't have happened if he hadn't kept the tape, which drawed unwanted attention. So, like I said, I mean, that was very stupid on his part because if he didn't keep that tape around and having to like, show everybody the freaking tape, then who knows? I mean, maybe, maybe the story might be a little bit different, and in some way, it might have been a little different if he simply overall, just kept the evidence. In this case, was it okay? Basically, if he basically just like got rid of the tape, threw the tape away and got rid of it immediately instead of just keeping it, to show everybody else, like yeah, I mean that was just very stupid. Like just like I said, very very stupid it was, But yeah, but like really, there's also a layer of ambiguity regarding his motivations because while his actions are undeniably violent, there are glimpses of a different side because he does show a genuine connection to Kane, even attempting to shield him, during the final shootout. And really, this complexity really it makes him a more intriguing character, but it doesn't excuse his choices. So that's the thing. Like, I mean, even though he tries and attempts to do so, and trying to shield Kane in the final shootout of the movie, it does not excuse it. Like, it does not excuse his choices. It doesn't excuse his choices at all whatsoever. So ultimately, though, ODog, I would say, represents the tragic consequences of a life devoid of opportunity and hope. And really, he's a stark reminder of how violence begets violence, trapping entire communities in a cycle of destruction. And the film, it doesn't offer easy answers, but ODog serves as a powerful symbol of the human cost of a society that fails its youth. So ladies and gentlemen, that of course is the end of this video here today, of course. And of course, if you stayed this long and of course watch this video in its entirety, I want to thank you. I want to appreciate that. And also, to also say on the other hand, I want to thank you all also for the attention that I've also got on my other previous videos, videos like on Omar Little and of course on Rambo as well too, and also on other different content as well too that I've also uploaded as well as of late. So I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart, for that. I really do want to thank you because this is very this makes me feel happy, it makes me feel good to put this kind of content here on the channel, and really to like to do something overall that is different, pretty much to do something overall that's a little bit more different, something that's different overall than with me like not having to follow the trend of like what like like what a lot of other channels do nowadays, like whether it be like reaction videos or gaming channel videos and things like that. Which I mean, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all whatsoever. I'm not saying nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. But to try, to do something like this, something that is so different, because really I make these videos honestly, to really like, want to make them like say as, really to make them, in my opinion, like, really make them, like as very like say informative and make them, as educational as possible. which is why I always do it in this kind of format. And really wanted to, like, give like a very, like, like perspective, like really, like, say, a very interesting philosophy behind the characters that I focus on this channel. And I also want to do more and more on the channel, also, like, say, with the games, the TV shows, and even the movies themselves, and even, other different ideas that I have in mind that I want to do on the channel as well too. So of course, stick around for that, because I will have some more videos coming up also as soon as well too. So I also have another video coming out tomorrow as well too, on a video that, particularly overall, will be a little bit more different in a sense. So yeah, a little bit more different, video that I'll have up, uploaded tomorrow. But really, other than that though, that is all I have to say. So, if you like this video, don't forget to comment, to like and subscribe, for more explorations into the minds of your favorite characters on the channel. And also hit the notification bell to stay updated on my latest videos as well too. And with all that being said, and with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is all here today. So once again, I want to thank you all. Once again, I hope you all have a very wonderful, beautiful, and blissful day here today. And always remember to always be smooth, to always be steady, and to always be aggressive. Peace.